Hi everyone, pleasure to be here in front of you, and I have the honor to be the last one speaking today and to close this beautiful conference. Many thanks to Doreen and to Alison for working so much and so hard on this and making it possible for all of us to be here. It's been really lovely and intense as well and insightful. And I would like to share my work with you today. It will be a walk through my past, and at the same time I want to focus on the design of the projects that I did in the last years. So I'll be showing you 6 different projects. And let's start with the first one, which was my diploma thesis in architecture in 2016. Which was a moment of actually deep crisis in my life. Due to different reasons, I believe I was at the point that I couldn't see myself in the architecture office working for so many hours for someone else, on someone else's projects, on topics that I would feel were not really relevant. I didn't care if this wall was gray or blue, or if what I felt like something was missing. And this was not the first crisis in my life, but my second. So what I've had learned from my first crisis was to go deep inside. With the first crisis, I went for a walk, and I walked for 10 weeks alone. Through the north of Spain, might know the Camino of Santiago. So I did this alone, and it brought me back to life, and it helped me because I could reconnect. So what I would do in that moment was reconnecting. And I asked myself, where's the fire? What gives me this strange feeling and sensation in my arms that spreads to my hands and makes me want to move and do things? And it was the women. And it has been the women since ever, since I was a child, and obviously later on I got to know that even my grandmothers and my grandmothers, it was the women. So I come from a lineage, my ancestors were midwives, and I didn't know in that time, but looking profoundly deep inside, it all came. It was able to come to the surface, and there we go. The first birth center that I would design was for my diploma thesis, and I would use architecture as a tool to speak for birth. So what I focus on from the beginning as well is materiality. So it was clear to me, very clear from the beginning, that if I would build for birth, it would be earth, because I felt that this power of birth, only the material earth, where we come from and where we'll go back to, is the material that can give space and hold, be like a frame that securely and safely holds us, alone or not alone, no matter with whom you are, but the connection to the earth. And I started designing. You can see this little sketch, the rooms, the postpartum area, the entrance. Obviously, it's in German, but you might see that, for example, on the lower part of the image, in the south, I would say, are the postpartum units. They're all the same and little tiny spaces for families. But then the birthing rooms are these dense, lines, that circular ones, and so there's where the energy goes, and so I'm kind of sketching here. Then I put all my different ideas of the energies of those spaces into materials, into models, and each space had different materiality as well. And on the right you can see a model of a birthing room. I call them room sequences. And then the project develops into this birth center where the postpartum unit is on the top, and it's light, and you, after birth you can regenerate. Everything is light, and then the birthing cones made of rammed earth, but very sacral rooms as well. Those are more, they will keep you down to earth and help you get your baby down. You can see the explosion of it. It's an autonomous birth center for midwives. Capacity would be around 300 births maximum, and it's very close in the vicinity of a hospital. So it is a real ground. It is a real site. We would talk to this person to whom the site belongs, if we could have it for building. And in the beginning he said yes, and then he flipped again. So we did not build it, unfortunately, but we're working on it. We're working on it with these women here. They would keep me running and keep me doing. So we're professionals from around the birth. It's midwives, it's gynecologists, there's psychotherapists, also body workers, and with this interprofessional knowledge we bring together, we do this kind of stuff here. Top down, which you can see on the right, which I call top down because it's experts talking about what they're doing. We bring international knowledge there, we share it with the people. And then we have on the left side, bottom up, we have the women themselves, but also the men, all gender, all color, all ages, talking about birth. And this is the most moving I've ever seen. So if you are in a room with people talking about this topic, sharing their knowledge and their experiences, it's really uplifting. Out of all of this, out of my this activism and this activist group, there is an exhibition, a museum in Austria. It's called Female Museum, and it's the only one worldwide which is in a rural area and yet has a progressive intention behind it. So we don't show all the boring stuff, but we go we go somewhere. We try to really go somewhere, and this was the 20th anniversary of this museum. And me and my colleague proposed to them, after 20 years of Women's Museum, you should do an exhibition on birth culture. So I spent 1 year of my life curating this exhibition, and you can see the book is in the exhibition place. It's in German, but there's many pictures illustrating the whole exhibition, and it was a great success. So also to break silence. And we had a framework program around it. It was incredibly beautiful. It lasted for 2 years. It was in COVID, so we had to postpone our opening from March 2020 to July 2020. And although it was in COVID, over 20,000 people came to visit, which is quite incredible. And in this time, curating it, I got very deep into analyzing the matter, and I'm a brain that structures all the time and that kind of wants to have everything in somewhere sorted. So this exhibition is kind of in 6 parts or 7. It works. So you enter, you have a prologue, then you see the first one is understanding birth. Then it comes to practice. Then it goes to living culture. Then it's about questioning ideologies. And then it moves to human rights. And then it ends with giving birth to visions and bearing visions. And this is where this project comes in, the second project I want to show you today. It's called The Room for Birth and Senses. You have seen it if you've spent some time here now. This is kind of a decoupling of my diploma thesis. So we took the core of my diploma thesis, these birthing rooms made of rammed earth, and we built it. We wanted to show to people what's possible. It's kind of a contraposition to the current birth situation. It's made of adobe bricks, It's all natural materials. It has a fundament of cement, but the rest is all natural materials. Even the red is linen oil with red pigments. Yeah, and I did it in a team. So I asked, I'm sure you know Anna Heringer, renowned architect, international architect, and Pritzker Prize winner. Martin Rauch is the Pope of European earth construction and a pioneer in rammed earth. And Sabrina Summer is a genius designer from London, and she also did the design for the exhibition. So we all worked together on doing this. You can see we started from the model, and I could bring my midwifery knowledge in, and we really, it was all centered about materials. It has these two parts, the design, and unfortunately we couldn't do the whole thing with bathtub and so on, because there was quite some restriction when it comes to costs as well. So we said, okay, this is going to be a prototype, and we did a crowdfunding, and we kind of said, I'm your baby, to all those Adobe bricks, so people could be like a uncle or how do you say that? Yeah, they could, I don't know the word in English, but they could participate and become part of the project through buying one of those Adobe bricks. And the project consists of this nucleus, which is the birthing room, and the outside herbal garden, and the central element in the middle is the fire. And you can meet, you can gather. There are workshops being held. We did also storytelling, vulva plastic workshops, and herbal medicine, and so on. And people come to visit it a lot. Also nowadays that there's another exhibition going on, people go and pass by there. This is part of the construction. I'd have so much more pictures to show, and actually there's the video to this construction in the exhibition you might have seen. So we built it in two parts, and then we transported it to on-site, because Adobe is very sensitive to rainfall, and in my region it rains a lot. So we put it there, and then we finalized it with the shimmering shingles, which is like a really nice, beautiful dress to it. And yeah, it has the spine, it has the umbilic, it has the belly, where you can see out and you look directly to the mother, which is the Women's Museum. And on the front you go out, and it has this low arc where you enter and you leave, which would be the movement of the baby when it comes out of the mother. There's this movement, and that's the intention behind it. And in the inside it's clay, and on the lower part where superficies could get wet or need cleaning, this is tadellakt kale with soap, the old Moroccan technique that I believe lots of people, the Grace has been mentioning before, and lots of people know, of course. It's antibacterial and antiviral, that's why we use it in that case. Here you see the birth space design team, and as I said before, it hosts workshop, educational programs, and birth rituals at the moment. Yeah, and it has been published a lot, and it's has become part of the treasure of the Austrian Architecture Museum, which is quite nice, I believe. And out of this grew my first work as a teacher. I taught at the TU Vienna design class in 2021, together with Professor Tina Gregoric, Evelyn Temmel, Josephine Herrmann. And there were 9 student groups who designed a birth center. And I'm not going to go a lot in depth with it. I'm just going to go and click through 2 or 3 of them. They are part of the exhibition. They have their own screen there. And it was really beautiful to see the students. They had another parameter restricting them. So they had a site, a specific site at the hospital, but in the patio of the hospital, and then they had to build with prefab, ecological prefab. So I think it's really interesting what grew out of it. Beautiful ideas, really. This one gave each woman on the top their own birth space or birth house. Really nice. And while doing all of this, I was studying midwifery. So towards the end of my midwifery studies, when I did my bachelor thesis, I did a synthesis of all my knowledge. I had never been before at that point of knowing. So now I knew what a birth would feel like, what they do in the hospital, what they do at home. I knew everything about birth physiology, and I wrote about the interrelations of birth and space, and also here. So I'm this person organizing everything, so I had this huge amount of material, and I've read all of the studies, all of them that are about birth and space, and I had to kind of go somewhere with it. So this actually it's not a finding, it's not an outcome, but it is for me one of the most important parts of this writing. Quite in the beginning, it took me the longest to organize and structure, and I found out if I do birth or architecture and birth, there's three main components that are vital or that play a really important role. It's first the physiology of birth, of course. Second, and it's down there below, it's in German, but I'll translate for you. So second would be, in my opinion, the context, the culture. We cannot think birth spaces without thinking of the context. So whereas you have in the physiology of birth, you have the contractions, you have this neuro, psychological, hormonal process, cocktail going on, and you have midwifery supporting to it. You have the cultural space that you're in and you are embedded in. It's like a layer, and if we don't go into the bird's perspective and we see it from above, one might just be acting within, but we want to go somewhere, so we need that bird's perspective, and we need to know that we're in a realm where we're talking about power, we're talking about finances, we're talking about decision-making, stakeholders, patriarchy, so many things we have forgotten already. Yeah, and then it's the last one would be architecture, and there I distinguish between material and immaterial qualities of architecture. So you have obviously physical components, but you also have the atmosphere, you have the perception, you have the spirituality coming in, you have all of that, the experience part of architecture. And then I go, as a midwife, I go and I take a birth. I start from the beginning where contractions might begin or where the woman is at home, and I take the readers all through that journey. And from the way to the hospital or to the birthplace, or whether they stay at home, to the opening phase, then when she's dilated. I refer there to work by Olsa et al. In 2020, where she does this neurosocial model of birth. I think Marilyn showed it yesterday, and she does the same. So I kind of take this work and transfer it more into architecture. Okay, this woman experiences this, and this is happening on birth physiology, so what do we need in architecture? And I take the readers all down to the road. Yeah. So basically my findings are, and I also here, I'm going to keep it short, but we could talk about this for hours. Basically my findings are that ownership is very, very important and crucial. So this power issue, and how could we translate, I even give ideas on how could we translate ownership into architecture, into form. And then we have architecture of senses, which would be that part of perception, of where it's not just a medicalized process, but spirituality and holistic thinking gets in. And obviously the other part of architecture, which is hardware and infrastructure. That a birth space has to fulfill certain regulations or things happen, so we can accommodate those things that happen during birth, and architecture is a means to do that. Cause for action was also an output of this work. I only want to mention one, the first one: ensure spatial integrity of birth environments across all 3 levels, A, B, C. That would be my biggest goal. To really build and construct and create in a way that all of those 3, power, holistic thinking, and practicability, can be part of a birth environment. This is the moment where I get to know the Global Birth Environment Design Network, and I start working with them. And in the past, I don't know, 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. I've been doing case studies together with them and working as a research consultant for them. And you can see some pictures, really lovely time we had. I think I counted, there were 11 case studies or places, that positive exemplars that I've gone to. And at the same time, after my midwifery studies, I started working as a home birth midwife. I'm currently I'm a practicing midwife. I'm not working with this group anymore. Currently, I'm in Zurich, in the city center, in an autonomous birth center with some more lovely midwives. But it is the core. It's really the most beautiful thing to be able to accompany a birth at home like this. Everything feels right. And then I was called to do a new project. So I was invited to design the preliminary draft of the Birth 3000 project in Switzerland, which is a pilot project. It is the first project in Switzerland to be an autonomous and completely autonomous birth center on hospital premises. So it's midwife-led and run, and they also decide whether to take that risk or not to take that risk. It's not the doctor to tell them if this is a client or not a client, but they know, and they will know themselves if this is a client or not a client, and then they will accompany that person there. But they work in strategic alliance, the midwives and the hospital. So this project is currently under construction and is expected to be finished by the end of 2026 and inaugurated in 2027. You can see the design. It's kind of a flower. Which was inspired. You did see my first circular drawings of that birth spaces where this energy is condensed, and out of this sketch grew a model which became a flower, and then the birth pavilion. So you have 2 birth spaces, which are always one flower petal. I don't know how that's Spanish, but pétalo. Yeah. And you have a midwifery room, and you have a pregnancy, and a postpartum room. And then you have this heart on the top, which is for public. And in the center is reception and cleaning and so on. And this is a birth room. So you enter, you have this bath unit to the left, and then the bathtub, and obviously a bed. And that's behind is the hospital, and in front would be the pavilion. And And another current project that's moving me is this one. It's called Birth Space, very simple. And it explores the salutogenic potential again of a birth room. And this kind of developed parallel to the other, to Birth 3000. And it's based on an expandable concept, so that again, a birth center could start with just one birthing room and then expand and grow into something else, because lots of people nowadays, it's like costly, we don't know about the future, what's going on. So this also allows either midwives groups or hospitals to start step by step with midwife-led births on their own grounds. And it's thought to be exportable. And so you have these prefab birth modules, which are like postpartum, pregnancy, birth, and you could put them onto a car and drive. It's going to be fixed modules or elements that you could easily build together, and then they can work as a standalone and grow more. And that's the moment. Well, this is kind of where I was standing when Monja, my colleague, approached me and asked me, "I've heard what you're doing and I like it. Can I somehow participate?" And I said, "Yes, of course, I've got this project." And I was so busy with the other one. I said, "Yes, please, come on, develop it further." And she did her master thesis on this topic. And I would like to invite her to just shortly share herself, what she did.
Thank you. That's, I think, the floor plan of our prototype. It's the standalone solution. So it's very simple. You have a long house, so the midwife and the woman can keep distance if they want to. It's also a very simple floor plan, where the tea kitchen is in the front. In the middle there is a bathroom and the showers, and in the back corner there is the multifunctional birthing room with different zones. And we were wondering about how to bring calming elements into the room. So there is in the west, where the evening sun comes in, you can see like the light of the gentle moving leaves in front of the window. We also put the bathtub there, so you can have water reflections on the wall. And we have a stove, so you can make a fire. You have the warmth and the very beautiful, calming, flickering light. Over this house there is a really big roof. It's like a shelter. It should feel welcoming, and depending on the site and on the local building tradition, the roof is going to be made out of shingles, or it's a thatched roof, like in northern Germany, or in Italy they use stone. And another beautiful sign of love is, for example, the ornaments in the room. So we use the ornaments from the traditional dresses and put them on the curtains, so it reminds you of your ancestors and your grandpa, maybe. The structure is mainly made of a rammed earth ceiling, an arch, gives the cave atmosphere. The walls are timber constructed, and even the foundation is not made of concrete. It's like steel screws. My main topic of the research was the salutogenetic potential of natural materials. So basically how to build a healthy environment. And nature provides us with great symbiosis. For example, there are often VOCs, basically chemicals in modern buildings, and sheep wool is able to break them, but it's also amazing with acoustics. Clay is perfect for moisture regulation, also protects the wood from fire, and brings thermal mass into the building, so you do not really need a cooling system because it's not going to overheat. Yes, so we have a whole collection of materials now we want to use to build, from fired clay, ceramic, natural clay, various woods, to bark insulation and lime plaster, which is also antifungal. And the main concern is always, is it hygienic to build with natural materials? And we did some tests. You can't use any wood. You have to find the right one. Oak has much tannic acid content, so it destroys bacteria, but also the acid reacts with iron when it gets in contact, and this makes it black. And blood has a lot of iron, so we made some tests with blood to see if how it's going to look like exactly, and we're going with the black one. Yeah.
Thank you, Monja. It's for me beautiful and exciting to be working, finally having found someone to work with, because doing all of that alone, but now I can share, and obviously we can go further. And we're currently tomorrow's decision making, the day of decision. So we have this site on the lower part of the image. It's a city called Feldkirch. There is the hospital. You can see it, and it's circled in white. This is where the birth center would be. So we really hope that the women from this convent, the construction site belongs to, they will say yes to our project. On the left, you can see this is the region where we're situated in. It's called Vorarlberg, and there's Alps and green and yet dense population, because it's a very high quality living, so people like to go there with their families and get settled. It's overcrowded, but yet very beautiful. And in where this yellow dot kind of spreads would be where the birth center would be. There's the biggest hospital. And all of these little dots around, you can see, were birth centers that got closed down in the last 30 years. So there's no one left of them.